Meet Dong, a brilliant detective, a lethal martial artist, and a man who captures attention wherever he goes. But today isn't about charm. He crashes a funeral to hunt down his prime suspect, a man named Yang. Yang is accused of killing a friend, yet after a tense interrogation, Dong uncovers a twist. He's innocent. Dong's true mission is avenging his partner, John. But this isn't just a murder case, it's a war against a dangerous syndicate. Haunted by the past, Dong flashes back to better days. He and John weren't just partners, they were brothers. We see them arguing over an old file. Dong tries to close the case, convinced the deceased taxi driver simply lost control. But John snaps back. Are you blind? A veteran with 20 years on the road doesn't just crash by accident. There was evidence he was murdered, not suicide. John found new clues and corruption. He looked for a lighter to tell Dong what happened, but he couldn't find it. Dong said later and went to get food. When he returned, he found a masked criminal had stabbed John. The man came from behind to kill Dong, but he reacted. He grabbed the knife with his hand, leaving a scar. The masked man escaped. Then Dong woke up from his memories. His boss yelled at him for hitting Yang. Since John's case, he had not been focused. He was sad and struggling. The boss said, "Control yourself or stop being a detective." Dong replied, "If that is the case, I resign." The boss said, "Hey, come back. I was joking. Don't be like that." Dong ignored him and walked away. He received a call from a beautiful girl named Song. She was the heroine and a talented journalist. She told him she knew about his friend's murder case and wanted to write a scoop about it. She wanted a promotion to replace her rival. Dong said, "I haven't caught the killer." Song replied, "No, you are covering for him. You caught him today, or are you hiding it because your friend was corrupt and took bribes?" He said, "My friend would never do that. He was framed." He hung up. Song went to the station and waited until she got a lead. Later, Dong met a witch who said, "Your life changed after that hand wound." He replied, "Anyone could guess that." "What else?" She said, "You will meet someone. You must become one to achieve your goal." Dong did not care and felt she was a scammer. He paid her and left. Then Captain Jin and his supervisor sat with the minister. They seemed corrupt. He said they must stop Dong so he would not end up like John. Jin called a man named Kim. He told him to pin John's murder on anyone to close the case. They wanted to stop Dong. Then we saw a poor young scammer who only scammed the rich to help the poor. His name was Pike, and he had just been released from prison. He and his partner scammed a man who cheated on his wife constantly. They stole a diamond necklace intended for the mistress. He made the wife catch the husband. Then they fled with the necklace. Pike was the target to be framed for John's murder. A false witness arrived at the police station. He claimed he saw Pike kill John. When they investigated Pike, they found he was a petty scammer, not a killer. However, records showed he called John that day. Dong was suspicious because John's phone never rang. He sensed something was wrong. Dong and his new partner, Detective Hyun, went to arrest everyone associated with Pike. He visited a doctor friend and threatened to report him if he did not reveal Pike's location because he performed illegal surgeries. When Dong returned to the station, he found Song eavesdropping on the officers and sending information to her colleagues. He walked with her and made a deal. She must not hinder his work or publish anything. In exchange, he would tell her when he caught the criminal. Song agreed. A car nearly hit her, but Dong saved her. He held her close. They looked at each other romantically. Later, Dong went to arrest Pike. Pike tried to run, but Dong grabbed him. Dong said, "You are accused of John's murder." Pike asked, "Murder? I am just a scammer." Dong said, "You killed him for revenge because he imprisoned you." Pike replied, "Impossible. He visited me in prison and promised to help me when I got out, that he cared for me and brought me things with his own money." Dong felt something was wrong. He took Pike on a ride to talk to him. Suddenly, a motorcycle gang surrounded them. Dong got out of the car. He used Pike as a shield and fought the gang alone. However, there were too many enemies. They jumped into the water to escape. Pike woke up in the hospital, but his soul was in Dong's body. Dong's soul was missing. The nurse treated him as Dong. He asked, "Who is this crazy woman?" She thought he was insane because he acted as if he was Pike until he saw himself in the mirror and asked the nurse about his body, finding himself in a coma, so he decided to live in Dong's body until he figured out what to do. He found his team waiting for him and talked to them, but he did not understand anything at all. Then, Pike, who was Dong, returned to work and remained confused until he recognized his desk. He gave away John's shoes, which he had kept, to Hyun to throw away. His friends were surprised he did that so easily. They told him Yang had sued him for hitting him during the chase. Pike got angry and asked them, "Who is the cowardly detective who did that?" No one answered, and they all stared at him. He understood that it was him, but not him. Later, Dong went to Yang and said, "I am sorry for what I did to you and that I hit you." He used Pike's scammer persona and kept telling him that his mother was with us until he made Yang cry and forgive him. Dong planted a listening device on him. He and Hyun went to watch and listen to him. He called his friend and said the police had not reached the warehouse cameras, so he went. Dong kidnapped the man Yang spoke to and learned the location of the cameras the police missed. Then he went to get a search warrant from the new prosecutor, but he spoke rudely because he feared the police. The prosecutor threw him out into the street. Then we saw Song meeting the new prosecutor. She said to him, "I missed you, my friend. Where are our days together? How are you, dear?" He said, "Sister, is that how it is? She said, yes, we're just siblings, nothing else. How are you, boy, and how is your dad? He said, good, he sends his regards. Later, Dong met the witch and told her, draw me. She drew Pike. He was surprised that finally someone saw him in his true form. He looked for her, but she had disappeared. Then Song came to Dong, and he took her and went to the warehouse. They checked the cameras. He pretended to feed her raisins so the guard would leave. Of course, Pike's personality also liked Song. He seized the opportunity and asked her, do you like scammers or detectives more? She said, detectives. He was very sad because that meant she liked Dong and not him. Then the guard came and she hit him. Song hit him because Pike's spirit was weak and controlled Dong uselessly. After that, they entered the warehouse together and viewed the cameras from the day of the crime. As they tried to escape, the warehouse owner arrived with his men. They caught them and Dong acted very foolishly because of Pike. He got kicked and sent flying and was injured. Pike's soul left him. Dong stood up, not understanding anything, and asked Song, what brings you here? She said, is this the time they will finish us off? Let's run, he told her. Wait, who should run? Stand back and watch. Dong entered their midst, and whoever approached him, he knocked away and broke their facial bones. He took Song and left. Song explained what happened. Pike was cleared of the crime. Dong watched the video they obtained and realized he was the next target after his friend John. Then we saw Pike deciding to go to Dong to learn how to return to his body. At that time, Dong was at the station. The masked man attacked him and they fought. Pike arrived but could not help or move anything until he managed to tip a bookcase onto the masked man and warned Dong. They kept fighting until Song arrived. The masked man managed to escape. They went after him, Dong and Song. During the chase, Dong asked her if she heard Pike's voice or saw anyone there. Song said to him, no, are ghosts involved? Or what? Suddenly, the same motorcycle gang appeared and surrounded them. Dong tried to hit the brakes, but he could not, and they turned out to be cut. He decided to increase his speed and enter a side street. Before driving into a steel trailer, he pulled the handbrake and drifted, and they got out of it safely. Dong began to investigate what happened. He learned from Song that those driving the bikes had no papers or plates at all. He called his colleague and asked him about the accident of the driver who killed himself, which John was investigating. He said he crashed into a steel vehicle. Dong remembered his own accident. He went to watch the videos of the driver's accident and found the same bikes were present on the day of his death. He went then to the car maintenance center. He learned the brakes were cut and this was the same thing that happened to the driver. He understood that. The matter was planned from the start, as John said. He learned from the maintenance engineer that John knew this information before his life ended. He remembered the lighter John used to give him and knew there was definitely something behind it, but he did not know what. Song found a piece of wood with the name of a temple on it that fell from the masked man when he was at the station trying to kill Dong. Then, Dong and Hyun went to the temple. They found a motorcycle there. He disabled it and entered to ask about its owner. He found him running, so he chased him. The bike owner confessed he knew nothing about the masked man. He only spoke to him on WhatsApp. Dong told him, good, you will be my informant and tell me everything about the masked man at the right time, or I will jail you. The informant agreed, out of fear. At the same time, we saw Pike meeting the witch again. She said that Dong was now a partner, and they must live as if they were one for 49 days and solve the case together, or else he would lose his life. Pike asked her, why me? She told him there was a bond between them and they might actually turn out to be relatives in the end. He told her he did not know. To enter Dong's body, she told him his body was not a toy. He must ask permission first, or at least know the method to enter and exit. Pike went to Dong and talked to him. Naturally, Dong could not see him, so he went crazy and made strange movements until he surrendered to reality. Pike told him what happened the day of the accident and that they had become one. Dong ignored him and called the prosecutor to help him arrest the masked man and his gang. He hung up on him because of what Pike did to him. Pike advised him to ask his friends for help to catch them. He did so, and Dong went to Yong and asked for help. Yong said, you hit all my men, and you even hit me. You want me to help you? How? Dong brought all the tools he hit them with, gave them to them, and said, take your revenge, men. I want you to teach me a lesson, but after that, help me. The boss agreed, and they beat him up. Then Dong told the informant to find out the masked man's route because he rode motorcycles. Indeed, he and Pike went together and drove around them on bikes. But Dong's colleagues and the gang he agreed with arrived and surrounded the bikes. The masked man escaped, and Dong went after him and hit him with the car. Then he unmasked him and beat him, but Pike stopped him. He told him this was not the real masked man, just a scapegoat. Dong asked, how? He said, the person with you is my friend Kim. He could not even kill a chicken. We understood that Kim tried to frame his friend Pike for the case, and when he could not, he took the blame. He and Pike told Dong, you must let me enter your body to help you. He refused. Dong said, Pike, I don't believe you because I saw the angel. Tattoo that was visible on cameras on Kim's neck. If you want me to believe you, bring me proof that he isn't the criminal. Pike interrupted and asked where he got the necklace he had when he first saw him because that necklace belonged to him. He gave it to a detective when his father died and told him it was proof of his father's innocence. He told him, none of your business. He went to Kim to interrogate him. Dong was surprised to find Kim confessing easily easily. He found another clue, a photo of Kim from a speed camera on the same day and in the same place where John was killed. He went to check the radar for other photos to confirm, but found the whole record deleted for that day. Pike went to him and said, "I tipped the bookshelf onto the masked man the day you fought him, yet there is no mark on his back." Dong confirmed that Kim was not the masked man, the real one. He took him to transfer him to prison. Then we saw that the one who made him turn himself in was Captain Jin. This was by the minister's order. He promised him he would be acquitted and not imprisoned, plus the money he would get too. Later, Paik saw his girlfriend stealing from people. He said she would be rich, that clever girl, but he was surprised she was collecting the money to pay for his surgery so he would improve. She would continue stealing and scamming with all her might until she collected the money. He feared for her and decided to enter Dong's body by any means to save her from prison. He kept chasing Dong everywhere, ruining his relationship with Song and his friends, making everyone see him as crazy. So he would agree to let him enter his body and prove Kim's innocence. Until Dong got fed up and went to steal the photo. That proved Kim was at the crime scene and was the killer. He visited him and said, "I am sure you are not the killer. Do not sacrifice yourself for anyone." He replied, "I am not sacrificing. I will get acquitted anyway." He understood the issue was big and Kim would stay imprisoned until they released him. Later, Dong walked with Song and met a poor young man running from a shop owner where he worked. Dong asked him, "Why are you doing this?" He said, "The owner calls me a thief, but I don't steal. I work extra jobs to pay school fees for the girl I love." Dong helped him and solved his problem. He went with Song to drop her off. The prosecutor who was waiting for her saw them. When he saw them together, he got very annoyed and left. The next day, a report came about the poor young man, claiming he robbed a man in the street and hit him. But strangely, he didn't steal his money. When he went, the officers accused him of being a thief. He defended himself, saying, "I didn't do that. I just wanted to know my girlfriend's location because she has been missing for a while." Dong told him, "Call her." The young man said, "She said she would leave me, but that's not her nature. She loves me. Her replies are different from her nature." Dong told him, "Okay, send her a message saying, 'Did you like the dress I got you?'" She said, "Yes, it's nice." The young man got scared because he didn't buy anything. At the same time, we saw the young man's girlfriend kidnapped. The kidnapper was named Park. He turned off her and she escaped, and he kept chasing her. Then the police received a report that they found the girl in an accident on the highway. Paik went with Dong to the hospital. When they arrived, it was raining on them. Dong was able to see him and said, "Are you the young man who gave me a necklace long ago and told me to get justice for my father and that he was innocent?" Paik said, "Are you the dog who betrayed me and left me? I haven't known anything about you since then." We learned, my dear, what the bond between them was that the witch mentioned. That Pike's father was accused of causing an accident, killing 2 people. The driver was the witness. Pike's father took the blame for the case and killed himself because of it. At that time, Paik asked Dong to restore his father's rights and prove his innocence, giving him the necklace. Song came, interrupting him and calling for Dong. As she crossed the street, a car came to hit her, so they ran. The two ran to her and saved her. Paik's soul returned to Dong's body again. So you do not get lost, my friend. Dong is now living his life, but with Pike's style and personality. Dong and Song entered the hospital. He showed her the photo of the girl he came for. Song got very upset and told him, "I met this girl before and treated her badly. I must get her justice." They went to the person who robbed the young man. He informed them he never saw the girl before. Song called him a liar and said, "I saw you with my own eyes in the cafe with her, telling her about a job." He denied it. Dong took her and they left. The man called Park and said, "I did what you said." Then the police went to investigate Park. We learned he was a gang leader who kidnapped girls under the pretense of employing them, then sold them to the rich as slaves. But he had many connections with the police and the supervisor, so no one could pin anything on him. The evidence was forged every time. Pike decided to use Dong's body and arrest Park in his own way. He formed a team comprising the police, Yong, his gang, and the comedy trio. They watched him everywhere. He pushed his girlfriend towards him to seduce him, but Park was not interested in her, so he decided to hurt him financially. He pushed the comedy trio at him and told them, "Throw yourselves at his car." Dong came and said, "I am a corrupt detective. If you are a man, call the police or pay for the treatment of these 3 mules, or I will jail you." Park agreed, so he would not bring the police. He paid $100,000. Dong took the money, gave half to his girlfriend, and donated the rest. He went to treat the mules at his doctor friend's place. When the minister learned what happened, he said, "Dong looks like a corrupt officer and will be useful to us." He asked Captain Jin and the supervisor to set a meeting with Dong. Perhaps he could be one of their men. His boss went to tell him and said, "Take me with you." He did not know the truth that the minister actually wanted to ruin him. After that, Dong decided to continue his plan with the help of the scammers and the police. Song entered and said she wanted a role. Dong made her the bait. She applied for a job like the girls did. Park agreed but did not show up for the appointment. He came the next day, met her, and said, "You are hired. Let's go to work." Of course, Dong and his friends were watching all this. They blocked the road for Park. Song sent a message to Dong that Park left her and kidnapped the girls. Before the police caught him kidnapping girls, he rang the supervisor and told told him, call Dong's squad leader and make him withdraw them from the location. He actually did. That Park kidnapped Song and the girls. It turned out he was the one who sent the message to Dong. We learned that on the day, Park did not come to meet Song. Dong had stopped him then and told him Song's identity, that she was a journalist wanting to arrest him. He said he wanted to work with him and tried to scam him to know his route and catch him red-handed. But Park outsmarted him. When he saw the police, he understood what Dong was trying to do. He kidnapped Song, called him, and demanded a large ransom to release her. Then Dong tried to act and get surveillance cameras, call his friends, or do anything, but he could not. Park called him and let him talk to Song. He told her what Dong did, that he threw her under the bus and abandoned her, and revealed she was a journalist. Dong tried to continue the scam and said, kill her, I don't want her. But Park understood him and said, with pleasure, if you don't bring the money, I will finish her. Song did not understand why he did that and stayed sad because he betrayed and broke her heart. Park told him, I have another gift. He reported the doctor, his scammer friends, and the trio to the supervisor. He jailed them and left him to fight alone. After that, Dong, who was Pike, tried to gather the money. He collected donations under the guise of paying for Pike's surgery. Then he went to get the money he gave his girlfriend. He called Park and told him, I want you to meet me at the port at 10. A report came to the police that Park's car was at the airport and he seemed to be escaping. They went quickly there. Dong tried to stop them and tell them he would escape from the port, but no one believed him. At that time, he tried to think with real Dong's personality, or at least get out of his body, but he could not, until Park called and said, you have half an hour to meet me. He ran there, had an accident, got injured, and Pike finally exited his body. Of course, this time he could see him. Pike told him, let's go. Song is in danger. There is no time, I will explain. On the way, Dong was very annoyed with him, but ran to save Song. He told him, today we have no connection. Don't enter my body again. When he arrived, he found Park had set a trap with 2 hanging cars. He told him, choose my dear. Song is in one car, the girls in the other, who you will finish. See who you will finish. Dong was very confused until Pike came and said, believe me, this time there is no one in the cars. Dong knocked down both cars and surrendered himself to Park in exchange for releasing Song and the girls and letting them go. Park's men kept beating Dong. Before they finished him off, Song and the prosecutor arrived, saved him, and arrested the criminals. The prosecutor slapped Dong hard and told him, stay away from Song. He agreed. He told her, stay away from me again. The prosecutor took her home and Dong went alone without Pike. He was very upset with him. He recalled their memories together and laughed. Then the supervisor told Captain Jin that he was allied with Park and helping him to control him. The captain said, we are still officers and should not dive too into corruption. It seemed the captain's conscience was still alive, but he could do nothing and followed the herd. Later, Dong went to Pike and they sat, blaming each other until they calmed down and reviewed the events. Pike told him, while in your body, I investigated my father's case. The false witness in my father's case was the driver whose death John was investigating. A corrupt detective ignored the evidence in my father's case 16 years ago and caused his imprisonment. Dong said, this means the 3 cases are connected. Dong asked him, how do you enter and exit my body? Pike had discovered he exited via blood and entered via water, but he hid this and said, I don't know. Afterwards, Pike tried every way to convince Dong to let him enter his body, but he did not agree. So he waited for any moment water might splash on him, but found none. Later, Dong went to Young and asked him if he knew anything about Kim and if he was the killer or not, because he was looking in prison for someone who could kill in the masked man's style. This meant it was not him. Young said, I know nothing, but if you want me to help you enter prison to check yourself, I have no problem. Dong left and Pike came then and spilled water on him, entering his body. Then he went to ask Young again, what did I tell you a moment ago? He learned what happened. Then Dong went to Kim to scold him, asking, why did you frame Pike? Kim said, he is my friend. I didn't mean to do that, and look, I am the one taking the fall now. Dong said, even though you are despicable and wanted to ruin your friend, it is fine. I love you because you are my friend. Don't ask what I mean. If someone framed you, tell me, and I will remove him and get you out. But Kim refused to confess at all because the guard in the place worked for Captain Jin and informed him that Dong wrote Pike's name in the visitor log. Jin was surprised why he did that and suspected him. Later, we saw Dong and Hyun walking. Suddenly, they found Pike's girlfriend running from the police. Hyun got distracted, chased her, and flirted, saying, you lost so much weight. She asked, why are you focused on me? Don't tell me you love me. He said, not now. Let me get out of this mess first. Stop stealing, and I will leave you alone. I mean from Pike. She ignored him and found Hyun in front of her, so she tried to steal from him. He noticed and thought she was flirting with him. She thanked God, sat with him, and realized he was a very rich young man, so she decided to exploit him. Later, Dong went to work, and they received news that a girl was robbed and beaten by a criminal. Her boyfriend tried to defend her, but the criminal injured him, and the girl fell into a coma. Dong saw. The blood got very scared and fell. At that moment, blood got on him, and Pike exited his body. Dong understood then the method Pike used to enter and exit. Dong went to the hospital with the girl, and the doctor said she had been subjected to beatings and has many fractures. Her boyfriend claimed she fell down the stairs once and and had an accident another time. No one suspected him, and they all left. Then Pike saw the girl's ghost and was terrified because she could see him too. She was always sad and did not speak at all. He told Dong what he saw. Dong returned to work to investigate. Hyun told him that this beaten girl had come to him a while ago but got scared and left. Dong went to search the girl's house and found Song coming to help. She told him, when a girl leaves her lover, she throws away his gifts and memories. He asked her, what does she do when she loves? She became tense, Song, and did not know what to say. Then he confessed he loved her, and she confessed she loved him too. They both felt butterflies. Pike saw them and got very jealous. He went to cry over his condition beside his body. The next day, Song went to the station and looked at the things the girl had thrown away. She reassembled torn papers and learned the girl had signed an agreement with her boyfriend to stop beating her in exchange for not leaving him. At the same time, Dong went to the forensic doctor and asked about the wound. The doctor said the boyfriend injured himself. It was impossible that a criminal hit him, so Dong suspected him. He went to the hospital and asked, "You do that? You must be a psycho." The young man denied it. Dong returned to the station and Song showed him the note she assembled. He arrested the young man, interrogated him, and presented all the evidence, but he denied it and was very afraid. During the interrogation, the minister called and asked Dong to go easy on the young man. Dong said, "I don't do that." He told the young man, "The caller recommended you. It looks like a life sentence." The young man got scared and confessed, but later he went to the bathroom and heard Dong's colleagues saying the young man was tricked and the evidence was insufficient. If not for his confession, he would have been acquitted. They praised Dong, calling him smart. The young man returned, changed his statement, and claimed Dong threatened him to confess. Dong realized then that he had no choice but the victim. He went to the hospital, remembering Pike saw her spirit. He asked him for help, but Pike did not agree because he was jealous. Dong told him, "The boyfriend beats her. If she doesn't tell the truth, he will walk free in a few hours." So Pike agreed. He went to talk to the girl's spirit while afraid, but the girl left him and walked away. Pike pretended to Dong that she was still there. He told him, "Talk to her. She hears you." He laughed at him and said she refused to confess or speak. So Dong said to Pike, "Enter my body, and this time voluntarily. The most important thing is for the girl to wake up." Pike rejoiced, splashed water on him, and entered him. Then he went to sit with the girl. He pressured her using his scamming methods. He took her to see the injured people and showed her a girl with the same problem. He let her know her boyfriend beat her, but she surely was at fault. The girl collapsed and said she could not take it anymore and was not wrong. She gave up and returned to her body. At the same time, Song came to the girl after visiting all her friends and neighbors. She made them record messages saying how much they loved her. She played all these things for the girl. Indeed, the plan succeeded. The girl woke up and testified against her boyfriend. After he had been released, he was caught again and put on trial. Pike decided not to leave Dong's body right now and enjoy himself a bit. He bought clothes and invited Song to eat. All his colleagues came and they ate and drank together until Song remembered and kept saying how much she loved Dong. Pike felt jealous. He carried her on his shoulder to take her home. Song told him he smelled like her father and that she loved him very much. He told her, "I am not Dong, I am Pike." Song heard him but was not conscious until Dong suddenly got sick and bled. Pike exited his body. We learned this happened because Pike had a heart attack in the hospital. Dong fought with him for using his body. He told him, "Don't come near Song again. If you call here again, I will end you." She noticed and was shocked by what was happening. She was confused and did not understand anything. The next day, Dong decided to listen to Yong's words and enter prison. Perhaps he could investigate Kim, especially after learning he was sentenced to life imprisonment and filed an appeal. At that time, many people in prison tried to kill him. Dong entered prison with the help of the prosecutor, who we learned was a good person who helped in doing good. He framed Dong for assaulting Yong again. He had a video containing proof of innocence and waited for him to finish his mission to get him out of prison. Dong tried to talk to Kim several times, but he remained silent. Later, someone tried to kill him and Kim saved him. He blamed one of the people in the cell for the charge. Then we saw Pike in the hospital. The nurse told him the attack he had was caused by someone. She informed Song because they were friends. Song came to the hospital and talked about her memories with Dong. Pike got very jealous until she recounted the moment. Dong carried her. She said she was very happy and loved him. He felt she meant him, so he rejoiced like a fool. After that, Pike went to help Dong in prison. He told him, "I will try to live as a ghost for a while and understand the situation. Perhaps I can catch the person who framed my father." Then he made the driver, the only witness, stay silent until he was killed too. He made the case end as a suicide. After that, he killed John and made Kim take the blame for all of it. When Pike went to Kim, he recalled their memories together from when they were scammers. But Kim was greedy and robbed the rich, the poor, the old, and the young. He did not discriminate at all. At that time, Song was sitting with the minister, begging him to get Dong out of prison. We discovered the minister was her father's colleague, and Song's father was originally a detective who died after being accused of being a corrupt detective in Pike's father's case. But keep this a secret, my friend. Since then, Song considered the minister her father. The biggest surprise was that the prosecutor was the minister's son. That was why she told him, "You are my brother, my father's son." So, my dear, the game will get interesting interesting, and we will start connecting events and understanding who did what. Then Pike went to Kim. As they entered together, the jailer sprayed water on them and they united again. Pike began to use his friendship with Kim and made him feel how close he was to him. They celebrated the birthday of his deceased sister, whom Kim was very close to. He made him eat against his will. Kim felt there was something strange about the matter. Then Pike got sick again, and his soul left Dong. The next day, Kim decided to confess to Dong, but Captain Jin called the prison monitor and spoke to Kim. He promised him money and acquittal in exchange for not saying anything to Dong and canceling the appeal. He agreed and did not tell the truth at all. We saw the minister bringing the prosecutor's son. He asked him to get Dong out of prison because what he did was wrong. At the same time, he asked him if he knew Pike. The prosecutor apologized and said he tried to help Dong to reveal the truth and knew nothing about Pike. Then Dong decided to let Pike into his body again. Perhaps he could convince Kim one last time. When he went to talk to him, he told him, "I tried to frame Pike for the case. The first time simply because I was jealous of him. I felt he was a good person and he was always the leader while I was his follower. But I turned out to be wrong. I want you to let Pike know I love him and never wanted to harm him at all." Dong told him, "Pike knows and he loves you too. He considers you his lifelong friend. He told me to tell you that you must start over and clear yourself of the charges you put yourself in." Then Dong found a paper in the prison cell that said, "Meet me in the yard. I will tell you what happened." He thought Kim wrote it. When he went to the yard, he did not find him. A prisoner told him he was in the workshop. He ran to him and asked, "Why did you tell me to come to the yard while you are here?" Kim said, "I did not write that note. It was the one who tried to kill me the first time. I tried to catch him, but he was stronger than me, and he beat me." Dong saw the blood, and Pike came out of him. Kim was saying, "I know you are Pike, but I don't know how. I want to apologize for what I did. If you want to reach the masked man, look for Real Angel, and you will reach the big head. He lost his life." They were very sad for him. Dong went to see who killed him, but the officer came and pushed him away. Then Dong left the prison. He found Song waiting for him. They spent a lot of time, enjoyable together. Every day they went out together. Song felt she found the right man who would compensate her for the past. Then Dong went to Pike at the orphanage where he was raised with Kim. He consoled him and said, "Use my body for 5 minutes. Say goodbye to your friend in them, then come back." He told him, "Try to remember who the angel Kim mentioned is and your memories together." But Pike did not remember any. Later, we saw Captain Jin and the supervisor sitting together talking about what Dong did, entering prison, and Kim's death. He told the supervisor that Dong seemed to be reaching something, and the minister would not leave him alone so he would not discover what happened at the time of Pike's father's death, 16 years ago. His end would likely look like his friend John's end. The captain feared for him. It showed he loved Dong and regretted very much. What happened to John? At night, we saw Dong sitting with the minister. Finally, he went to have dinner with him. The minister invited him for lemon juice. He asked him about John and said, "Did he leave any evidence with you?" Dong remembered the lighter John left him and told the minister, "No, he left nothing." He rejoiced and told him that the killer, Kim, got his punishment. Dong stood up to take him home. The minister asked him if he knew Pike. Dong told him, yes, he was accused before Kim. "Why do you ask about him?" The minister said, "Pike's father did me a great favor, and I want to repay it." Dong went to inform Pike what happened. He was surprised the minister spoke about him. He was even more surprised because his father had no relationship with the minister. They spoke about the necklace Dong took long ago. Pike told him he found it at the accident scene, which was why he gave it to him. Dong told him, "This necklace belongs to a detective and has his initials on it. If we can find him, either he will be a witness to your father's case like the driver who was killed, or he will be the one who killed your father. Then he would be the one who killed John or had someone kill him." They agreed each would search in a direction. At that time, Song came to them. She brought a file to tell Dong what happened to her father, that he was not corrupt, and she wanted him to help her prove her father's innocence after it was said he was corrupt and that was why he killed himself. But she found him talking to someone. Of course, no one saw Pike except Dong. She asked him, "Who are you talking to?" He told her the truth, that Pike was with them and his soul entered his body at times, and he used to be with her as both personalities. Song was shocked by what she heard, dropped the file, and walked away. Dong took it but did not open it or know what Song wanted to say. He put it in his office. A photo of Song and her father fell out of it. Then Dong went to his colleague to know from her who the detective was, responsible for the driver's case. She told him his name. He learned he was the man who helped him become a detective. He went to meet Captain Jin and told him that John saw him as a role model, but he was now upset with him. Jin told him he feared for him and knew he met the minister yesterday. He warned him to stay away from him. Then he went to search John's box. Dong found the photo of Kim hidden there and the lighter John gave him. Jin understood, finally, that Dong knew Kim was not the killer. It seemed he was slow to realize. Then Song went to Dong and said, "Prove to me you are Pike." He brought him to prove it to her, but Pike was jealous and refused to help him until Song was about to fall and Pike saved her without her seeing. At that time, she believed and asked Dong, "Who was with me in this situation?" He told her everything. She walked away to the fortune teller. She told her, "My road is full of of tuk-tuks and microbuses, while my road is paved with no bumps. She left. Pike went to the orphanage where he was born. He looked for anything there that might lead to something. He saw the prosecutor. There. We learned his father, the minister, was the owner of the orphanage, but we will not tell anyone, my friend. That we know. Dong saw the angel wings, which was the masked man's tattoo, painted on the wall of the orphanage. At the same time, Dong asked for the names of the detectives who were on duty 16 years ago whose names started with the letters on the necklace. Then we saw a beautiful girl walking at night. A car came and hit her. Immediately after, a call came from the prime minister to the minister saying his son was in trouble and he must solve it so his son would not go to hell. If that happened, other people would go to hell for what they did 16 years ago in Pike's father's accident. The minister called the supervisor and told him to solve the matter. He learned that a detective colleague of Dong was responsible for the case. They invited the prime minister's son and the supervisor. They bribed him and made him delete the camera recording. They told him the victim was just a deer. He believed them and the matter passed. When he went to the accident scene, he found no bodies, only a piece of car glass with blood on it. He deleted the recordings feeling reassured, then treated his colleagues to a meal with the bribe money, feeling very happy until he learned that a girl died from the accident. He learned his wife also took a bribe from this criminal, so he decided to return it. The criminal told him the bribe was recorded and you deleted the evidence. If you do anything or report it, you will be fired and you need the money. Pike was standing there listening and wanted revenge on the criminal. Then Dong went to the orphanage, but the nun did not reveal the owner. He checked old detective records and was surprised the minister was one of them, so he suspected him. Meanwhile, the minister sat with his son and received a call that Dong was investigating him. He told his son not to go to the orphanage and not to make a mistake that forces me to sacrifice myself for you like before. Just focus on your work. After that, Detective Hun and his colleague went to forensics. The doctor said they found someone's DNA under the victim's fingernails, but they did not know who it was. The criminal had time to save her after the hit and run, and she did not die until some time later. Then the detective who hid the evidence learned what happened. He denied doing it and considered confessing the truth to his colleague, but failed and could not do it. However, his manager noticed and realized he was the one who deleted the recordings and was involved. After that, Captain Jin, the chief of detectives, learned what happened. He was told a detective was involved because of the supervisor who would cover for his employee until he reached the truth. Jin called the supervisor, scolding him. The supervisor said this happened by the minister's order and he could not stand against him. At that time, we saw Dong with the minister asking, this necklace was at the crime scene 16 years ago. Is it yours? The minister said, you are right to suspect me. I was a detective back then and it really looks like mine. He brought him a similar necklace and said, this is mine, still with me. Surely it is not the one you seek. Dong remained suspicious, went to the station and met Captain Jin. Finally, he gathered courage and decided to help him, saying, if you want the truth, investigate. The case of the criminal who hit the girl with the car. Dong used his brain. Knowing the security footage was deleted, he obtained footage from the dash cams of cars parked in the area. He saw the car that hit the girl and arrested the criminal who said, don't you know who my father is? He is the prime minister, and I am the richest, most handsome guy in the country. Dong said, after me, of course. The criminal said, I am first in everything. It doesn't matter if a girl died. She isn't more valuable than any car I own. I am obsessed with cars. He asked him about the car used in the accident. He said, I burned it. The forensic doctor called Dong and told him that the DNA on the girl's fingernail was ruined. It turned out he also took a bribe. Dong went outside and told Pike to enter his body and handle it because he noticed the young man was obsessed with cars, so he would scam him. Dong entered with Pike's persona and told him, I want to work with you. Police work doesn't pay well. The criminal agreed, but said not now. He went out with him, and they went to party at Yong's place, who had agreed, with Dong to make him drink until he could not see. He did exactly that and caused him to have an accident. He was forced to call Dong then. Dong went to him and helped him. After that, Pike's soul left Dong and rode in the car with the criminal as he went to hide it. Indeed, they found the car from the first accident there and compared the blood on the windshield with the victim's blood. It matched. Dong went to arrest the criminal before he could escape. The criminal told him the minister would get him acquitted anyway to cover up what happened 16 years ago. The prime minister called the minister threatening him. He said, give me one last chance as soon as my son gets out. The detective who deleted the records confessed and turned himself in. Dong kicked him off the team and he was fired from the job completely. Then Dong took the file and went to Song. She said, I wanted to tell you about my father and have you investigate. Dong was surprised to learn her father was the detective responsible for Pike's father's case. They accused him of corruption because the camera recordings and evidence of Pike's father's innocence disappeared and he committed suicide. Song said, impossible. My father wouldn't do that. It was fabricated. Dong told her he believed her because he knew her father, who saved him long ago when he was trying to be a thief and helped him become a detective. Song thanked him and said her father called her before his death and said, "I will meet someone and come to you. Then I learned he died." She added, "But I don't believe it. I feel he was murdered." Dong told her he was investigating the matter because it was related to John's case and he would find the truth and tell her. At that time, Pike saw the photo that fell from the file in the office and was shocked that Song's father was the reason his father took the blame. Dong said Song's father did not do that. He was framed just like his father and the driver and John. Then Dong went to the manager and devised a plan to arrest those helping the minister, starting with the supervisor. He arrested and interrogated him but achieved nothing. Then he went to the minister and confronted him with what he knew. The minister looked afraid. The prosecutor arrived later and the minister told him, "My son, everything I did this to protect you. I killed no one. Yet Dong accuses me. When you had that accident 16 years ago, you were still young. I feared for you, called the driver, and made him bear false witness against Pike's father. Then I took Pike into my orphanage and cared for him. In the present, when the driver reappeared, he died on his own. After that, Detective John investigated the case and also died on his own. All this was a coincidence. I swear I did nothing." His son tried to reply and understand that day's events. The minister told him, "The most important thing now is not to believe anything about your father. Stand by me and protect me." At the same time, Dong went to the driver's wife. She told him what happened, that 16 years ago her husband suddenly became rich and they traveled abroad. "We spent all the money. When we returned recently, he was talking to someone about a lot of money. Again, on the day he went to collect it, he had the accident and did not return." He confirmed then that the minister was the cause, but there was no evidence. Later, our heroes went to the hospital and Song called them. She told him she would investigate the matter too. Then Yong called Pike and said the masked man was going to the hospital to kill Pike. He understood then that the target of all this was Pike, not Dong. They rushed to the hospital. We saw the prosecutor there, escaping before anyone saw him, but Dong noticed him going to the garage. He followed him and met the masked man who hit him with the motorcycle and fled. After that, Dong went to the prosecutor and asked, "You were in the hospital doing what? Why do you want to kill Pike?" He replied, "Listen, know your limits with me and snap out of it." Dong told him, "I will show you. I have a partner you will like very much and I will jail you." The prosecutor decided then to investigate him and investigate the matter. Later, Dong interrogated the supervisor. Of course, we know he was a dog for power and money. By the minister's order, he framed Captain Jin for everything. The driver's wife called Dong and informed him her husband never smoked, yet he had a lighter before he died. We saw the prosecutor investigating Dong, saying he must stop him. Song was investigating the matter and went to the minister to ask if anyone met her father on his last day and if he knew him. He said, "I don't know, but I will check." He slipped up and told her, "The only witness to your father's case died. Since her father supposedly killed himself, there should be no witnesses." Song thanked him, left, and went. To Dong, she told him about her relationship with the minister and his son, adding, "In case you were jealous of the prosecutor." She told him about the part where the witness to her father's death died. Dong confirmed her father's death was not natural either. He feared telling her he suspected the minister and his son, lest it break her heart. He waited to get evidence first. He returned to Pike and connected the dots. They realized the lighter was the secret because it passed from the driver to John, so it must hold evidence. He checked for fingerprints but found nothing. He realized it contained a recording. He called Hyun to fix the lighter and see what was recorded on it. Later, Captain Jin went to speak with the minister and said, "I will save you from all this." The minister said, "The problem is the supervisor. We must get rid of him." He pit them against each other to finish it. He asked him to eliminate Dong and told him the most loyal person to him was his maid, Niema. He wished she could speak to share everything, but she had a nervous shock and only heard. Jin left and informed Dong he would tell him everything he wanted to know if he came to meet him. When Jin arrived, the masked man came and tried to kill him. However, Jin was prepared and had informed Dong's manager too. They both came and saved him from the masked man who fled. But Jin managed to scratch him. He went with them to the station and confessed he framed Pike for the case and then Kim. Dong asked, in exchange for what? He said a higher position, but he refused to confess. Against the minister, he told Dong, "Take care of yourself and protect yourself well because you might die soon." Jin told him, "After I left the minister, I knew the masked man would come to kill me. After I called you, I called the manager to save me and to identify John's killer." He asked Dong to investigate the matter until he reached a result. The team split up so each could investigate a part and catch the killer. First was Hun, who decoded the lighter's encryption. The manager examined the prosecutor's DNA and compared it with the DNA that was under Jin's fingernails during the fight. Dong learned the minister owned the orphanage and sponsored someone who had no records his entire life. Yong guarded Pike's body and the prosecutor investigated who was in the hospital the day he visited Pike and fled. Song informed Dong she tried to understand why Kim went to prison and sacrificed himself. She found out he visited the temple they went to when they caught the motorcycle recruit. Later, Dong went to the temple. At the same time, Paik went to the orphanage. Dong learned the orphanage director was Niema. Niama the maid and not speak or utter a word. She worked for the minister, so he suspected his son more and went to his office. Dong told him, "Enough. I know you are the one who killed 16 years ago, and your father tried to cover for you to the extent that he killed 3 people. But the shock came, and it turned out the DNA actually belonged to a woman." The prosecutor showed him the photo of the girl who was in the hospital, and she turned out to be Niama. At that time, Paik saw the shape of the wings on the wall and thought of the real angel. He remembered this was the nickname Kim gave to the girl he loved, who was at the same time the maid Niama she appeared before. Paik wearing the masked man's outfit, but thankfully she did not see him. We learned then that Niama was the killer. Kim sacrificed himself and went to prison because he loved her all his life and wanted to protect her. Dong learned what happened. He went to Niama's temple, searched it, and found her photo with her parents. Then he went to Paik and asked him, "Why me?" He told him because Niama thought his father was the person who killed her parents. The minister raised her and created a spirit of revenge inside her, so when she grew up, she would obey him. He taught her and made her a martial arts professional. They went to the nun to tell them about her, but she refused. Dong told her the minister exploited Niama and made her kill, and he did not help children or anything. He enslaved them. He left her to think and walked away. The prosecutor understood what happened and went to his father. He told him, "Son, I did nothing. I just wanted to protect you. Even if I did, now it is your turn, and you are the one who will protect me and protect Niama." He agreed. Later, Dong went to him, and the prosecutor told him, "I will not issue an arrest warrant for her, nor will I issue a travel ban. Bring evidence she is the killer, then come back." The detectives' team was gathered. Hyun came and brought the recording from the lighter. In it, the minister was asking someone to commit a murder, but the recording alone was not legal. They needed to catch the person the minister asked to kill and have them confess personally. At that time, John's wife called and informed Dong that someone tried to rob the house to find the lighter. She told him he went to his grave too. Dong said, "This is just the bait he will use to play the minister. Since he wants the lighter, we will deliver it to him, but in our way." Paik entered Dong's body and went to the prime minister. He played him the recording. Dong told him, "I know your son is imprisoned and the minister abandoned you and left you, facing the cannon alone. If he knows this recording is with you, he will do whatever you want." The prime minister rejoiced and took the lighter, but Dong, with Paik's sleight of hand, managed to give him a fake one. The prime minister called the minister and let him know the lighter was with him. He asked Niama to bring it to him. When she went, Dong had devised a tight plan and put a tracking device in the lighter. When Niama took it and reached the minister, they arrested him. Niama fled, but Dong chased her, but she escaped him. He knew she would go to the hospital to take revenge on Paik. He made Yang hide him and stay with her a bit until he arrived. Dong arrived and caught her. At that time, they thought the matter was over, but we saw Song searching for the person who spoke to her father last before he died. The best plot twist happened. It turned out to be Dong. Then the prosecutor reviewed the cameras from the day of the accident and learned that Dong caused the accident with her when they were children racing together. Dong swerved the car at Paik's father and many people died. At the same time, Paik tried to return to his body but could not. He went to Dong and found the prosecutor. With him, he told him what happened. Song came and completed the story. Dong stood between them, unable to deny because it was the truth. Paik told him, "After all this night, you turn out to be the cause? Man, you have exhausted me." Then the investigation with the minister began. Of course, he denied all charges and said, "I don't know who Niama is or what her job is." His son came and got him acquitted. Niama was imprisoned because her DNA was found under Jin's fingernails when she tried to kill him. Dong informed her of what the minister did to her, that he exploited her, and that Paik was not the one who killed her parents. Niama was affected but could not speak. Later, the minister and his son left. Dong played the recording on the lighter for him and told him, "I still have it and I will show you dark days." Then he told Song that the last call with her father was him thanking him for standing by him, nothing more. Her father told him he would make her proud. Then he went to meet the minister, and since then he disappeared. He told her everything he was hiding from her. She was shocked that the minister was the cause all along while she was asking him to help her. That was why she never reached the truth at that time. The minister planned to kill Dong and asked his son to defend him and stand by him this time. Paik was standing and watching. He forgot his anger at Dong and went to warn him of what the minister intended to do to him. Dong decided to pressure Niama to speak because she was the only thread. He moved her emotions and told her about her childhood, saying, "I will give you a chance to think freely." The day of Niama's transfer came. The minister kidnapped her and asked her to bring Dong to him by kidnapping Paik from the hospital and taking the lighter from him. Niama did so. Dong came and gave the minister the lighter. He kept provoking him until he confessed all his crimes, admitting he killed Song's father himself to hide the evidence he wanted to hand over. At that time, the taxi driver saw him, so he bribed him and made him bear false witness against Paik's father too. He made Song's father appear corrupt and destroyed the evidence. When the driver returned to demand money, Niama killed him by my order when John got close to discovering the truth. Niama killed him. Paik and his father were innocent, and I exploited Niama. Of course, Kdrama was listening without speaking. It turned out the whole nation was listening and watching too because the lighter contained a camera. The minister ordered Kdrama to finish Dong off. For the first time, she spoke and refused to do so. The minister stood up to finish him, but Kdrama tackled him. The police arrived and arrested him, but the minister knew the law and said, "You cannot do anything because there is no warrant." His son came and said, "I issued the warrant," and helped Dong reach the truth. He arrested his father. His father stood shocked because he did all this for him from the start. Then the heroes went to the hospital. Pike was in his last moments and seemed to be saying goodbye. Dong decided to sacrifice himself and let him live inside him to remain, existing. But Pike injured himself, restoring Dong to his true self, and refused to do such a thing. Dong kept resuscitating Pike until he woke up from the cardiac arrest. He got up and gave flowers to the nurse, who was caring for him. His girlfriend dated Hyun and became a good girl. Song was with Dong, and the minister was imprisoned. They all lived happily ever after. And just like that, the series ends.